What's up, YouTube? I'm going to be doing a Let's Play of the game Valheim as a break from my more um, philosophically oriented stuff. This is just a game that I think is incredibly beautiful, and I actually have a passion for programming, game design, and animation, and I hope to make a game like this one day. And I'm going to be doing it from scratch. Probably a couple hours of content whenever I can squeeze them into my schedule. And, this is an independent plug. So here we've got the new character, got the cool, looks like a forest in the background and the fire. So this is a game built on Norse mythology, hence Valheim, Heim meaning world or realm in the Norse mythos. Let's see. Give him some. I don't really relate to any of these beards. I guess that'll do. Go. That looks enough like me to get the job done. Ah, yes. That'll do it. Alright, so I guess without further ado, let's jump right into it. Forgot about all those. I'm gonna have to blur that out. Regardless. New world. Call it Jotunheim. Let's go in. Michael has pointed out, it's just a cozy game. Long ago, the All-Father Odin united the worlds. He threw down his foes and cast them into the 10th world, then split the boughs which held their prison to the world tree, and left it to drift unanchored, a place of exile. For centuries, this world slumbered uneasily, but it did not die. As glacial ages passed, kingdoms rose and fell out of sight of the gods. When Odin heard his enemies were growing once again in strength, he looked to Midgard and sent his Valkyries to scour the battlefields for the greatest of their warriors, dead to the world, and they would be born again in Valheim. So, this is basically the plot of this game is that you were a warrior in Midgard, so a human warrior, and, you were thrown into this game, or this world, rather, sorry, this world of Valheim to test yourself and prove yourself as a warrior so you could come back and fight for Odin. And this is, I guess that's a Valkyrie. I don't usually recall Valkyries being built out of, like, ravens like that. But it's very pretty nonetheless. So she's dragging you to Valheim here. And this game does scale up with time. You get progressively more and more. Alright, so here, first thing you want to do usually is pick up rocks and wood and stuff. And check the Vegvisir, which means, I believe, compass. So each time you kill one of the bosses, you're going to hang their head up or whatever on these sacrificial stones here. And first thing you want to do is build a solid little settlement. Oh, shit. There's, immediately I've found the first boss altar. Hunt his kin. So, because I've done this already, I know that the first thing you're going to do is get to the point where you can reliably hunt deer. And when you hunt deer, they will occasionally drop deer heads. Oh shit, this is lucky. You don't normally find a bunch of pigs like this. Yeah, what's good? But yeah, so they drop the deer heads or deer trophies, And when you gather those up, then eventually you will be able to summon the big Rudolph's evil brother, the big reindeer boss. Where'd that pig go? There he is. Fire is your best friend in this game because it does have survival elements. You can see I've got a food bar down there. And food is your health. So, no food, you don't die of starvation, but you go down to where you will basically just die if anything decides to have its way with you. Food also gives you health regen, and if you haven't eaten anything, you don't have any health regen, so obviously that is a losing battle. You can have up to 3 pieces of food, and they give you various stats. Some of them grant you regeneration, or they all grant you regeneration, but some of them grant you more stamina, and some of them grant you things like health. And there's other attributes too that you unlock later down the line. I want to get to the point where I can make a stone axe, because I'm going to need wood if I want to, be in a house with a bed in it before nightfall. Your torch will eventually run out of durability, so you need to make a new one. Those guys drop resin, which is very helpful for that. Clearly you can break down the skinny little trees here with enough effort. And there are rocks on the ground. If I can just find them. Let's see, so I have a hammer, which means now I can start constructing things. There's some rocks. And you don't want to jump to the point where you're swimming, because then you'll get wet. If you get wet, that's a debuff that decreases your stamina. Now I can create a stone axe. The next thing I want to make is a club, because clubs are just generally better for fighting most things in the early game. And also, it's just an extra weapon in case my axe breaks and I need to fight something that requires a little bit more than just punching and kicking. Bunch of raspberries. So there is farming in this game. Unfortunately, you can't farm raspberries, but there are things that you will be able to farm later. Okay, so that's lucky that I got a beehive here. Beehives are a very solid, obviously they create honey, which is a very solid early game resource. And usually what I like to do is build my first base on water, because the way this game is set up, you can see here there's water out there from where I flew in with the Valkyrie. And so this most every map in this game, the maps are procedurally generated from a seed, and they are chains of islands typically. So boars are a very important early game resource. You want to basically kill them where you see them. You can farm boars, technically you can domesticate them, but in my opinion, farming boars is not usually worth it, because they're quite weak and they're pretty abundant wherever you are in this Meadows biome. Speaking of biomes, this game has, I believe, 5 or 6 different biomes, maybe 6. Obviously they scale up in difficulty. Your first continent that you spawn on tends to have black forest and meadows. I believe that's a black forest over there, because you can see the pine trees. Pine trees do not grow in the meadows usually. So I don't want to build too close to the water, because occasionally tides come in, tides go out. You can't explain that. Regardless of not being able to explain it, they do happen, so I don't want the tides to do damage to my building. Alright, sorry about that. There was some problems with the software I was using, and we should be back and in the clear. So you've got to put a roof on this in order to make it work. And gonna do that with the hammer. And this is pretty rudimentary. Let me move this so it doesn't look like crap. Alright. So the first thing we're going to do with this crafting table is make a hoe. And hoes are important because they allow us to terraform the ground, and that allows us to make a base that doesn't look like crap, which is very important. So we're gonna hoe out a piece of ground, preferably with not that many rocks in it. And that will be where we actually put our base. When the sun goes down, the gray dwarves come out, and right now gray dwarves are a bit much for us to handle. So, or for this character at the moment. Grey Dwarves are best dealt with if you actually have decent gear, which this character does not. So we're probably going to spend the night in that little hut. And to do that, I'm going to need a bit more wood so I can make a bed and a fireplace and not die to a dwarf invasion. Once I have a little space that I can exist in without dying, I'm going to spend the next day collecting flint and more wood and hides. And my goal for fighting Eikthyr is going to be a bow. It's going to be some leather armor and probably a knife and some arrows. And that's basically the gist of where I'm trying to get to. That's my first goal right here. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to find some flint sources. And I'm going to have to find some more pigs. And possibly start hunting some deer. Well, if I'm going to get leather armor, I am going to have to start getting some deer hunted. But the first thing I need to do is survive my first night in Valheim. And I really want a flint axe because this axe presently sucks ass. Here I can craft some rag pants, which will be good. That way I can be a bit less naked. It's not the best in the world, but definitely better than nothing. That's largely unnecessary. Nice thing, this already has a door. Can repair a bit of this so it looks less like shit. I'm going to take this wall here out because it's not particularly effective. Repair the remainder of this. Gonna throw a bed down because that's helpful for doing things like sleeping. Take these plants out because they're mostly useless. To drop a fireplace down. Throw a torch here. Put a fire there. And need to fill in the roof. Repair this. That's fine. That's starting to look pretty good. Throw a couple of stake walls down. Crafting. Let's put a real door in here. See what it looks like on the inside. Looks pretty solid. Need a bit more wood. Oh, lit myself on fire. That's a mid decision. Get a tree or two down. They actually added in this hack attack so you can destroy stumps. Pretty useful. So yeah, I think the sun, you can start seeing the orange rays, so it looks like I got my settlement up in time to not die to anything stupid that'll come out at night. And there's no end to the amount of things that come out at night. Well, there's a set amount of things, but it's more than I really want to deal with before I get leather armor and flint weapons, which is my first intended goal. I'm going to do this on the inside so it's a little easier to judge where the wall begins and ends. Perfect. Not bad at all. Now I can use the hoe to make a little bit of dirt floor there. I don't really need to have an entirely wooden floor. It doesn't really matter too much at this stage. That's fine. Throw a couple of these down. Looks a little more hospitable. That is off-center AF. Come on. There we go. That's better. I just like things to look, you know, decent. It took me a long time to figure out how to use these little 26 angle walls, but they look really nice once you get them positioned appropriately. Pardon my OCD here. I just like everything to be good. Yeah, that's fine. And it looks like it's pretty much nighttime. That just looks better. Just nice and fortified, you know. And at this point, I will be able to sleep through the night and not die to anything stupid. Alright, and we are back. It is day 2. I have successfully gotten a settlement going, slept through the night. Doesn't look half bad. We've got a workbench that we can use to repair our stuff. And today, I am interested in gathering flint for the most part, and making a halfway decent set of weapons and armor. More raspberries, always helpful. If I can find any pigs, I'm going to try to murk them. Grab up their little leather scraps and boar meat. It's always helpful. I am going to be cooking that boar meat later. I don't really need to right now because there's nothing too terrifying in the meadows. Unless you get some trolls coming over from the Black Forest, in which case there's not really a whole lot I can do about them right now. I will be able to fight them when I get better access to ranged weapons. Alright, there's my first little piece of flint. As I said previously, you don't want to go in the water if you can help it, because you will get a wet debuff, and that sucks. Stones are always helpful too. There's a nice little bit of flint. Just collecting as many of these little rocks as I can. And what I'm going to be doing with them, with the flint, is I'm going to be probably making a knife initially, and possibly a spear. You cannot regrettably make a can't make a sword out of flint, but a knife is perfect for what we're going to be doing next, which is hunting deer. And I'm probably going to need some scraps of leather for that. I'm going to need more pigs to kill. There's a boar, speaking of the devil. I'm here. Didn't see me. There's his leather scrap. How many? I have 4. Probably going to need a few more than that. Raspberries are always good, even up until the more mid-game scenarios. Once I gain access to more unique crafting materials, I'm going to be using... There's some arrows, that's nice. Flint head arrows. Be using those raspberries to make things like jelly, which is a pretty solid stamina food. There are also sometimes little lizards down by the water that you can kill and gather up their tails to cook and eat. Those are very solid health food in the beginning of the game. More than enough to fight Ike Fear with, who is the first boss. Once you take Eikthyr out, you get access to metals. Metal crafting, specifically bronze and copper. And you usually want to conserve your torch because it's very helpful when you're doing things like fighting Grey Dwarves, which are the next enemy that we're going to be coming across in the Black Forest. They're kind of like your basic Black Forest enemy. Get a bunch of wood, stones. The fog really limits the ability to hunt pigs effectively. Oh, there's a deer. So deer are obviously the first target. Once you get 2 deer heads, you can summon Eikthyr. It's the first boss, which is what we're working towards at the moment. Mark my base on the map. More mushrooms, always good. Mushrooms have utility even until the very late game. They are a good crafting component. There's a dandelion. I'm not really going to be using dandelions too much, although... Oh, you can make midsummer crowns still. So there's certain build pieces that are seasonal. You can only make midsummer crown in the summer, and while it is not the summer, it's still good to have midsummer crown. So I will be collecting dandelions so I can get a headpiece a little ahead of schedule. It would be the tier 1 headpiece, which is a seasonal piece. Not the most important thing in the world to have that +1 armor, but it is better than nothing in the early game. 1 is in fact more than 0. Another bee hive, very helpful. That is, of course, assuming I can get to the beehive without dying of poison, which is clearly up for debate. So I'm going to use a super secret hack and just break this house down that the beehive is in. And when you do that, the beehive should just fall. There we go. Easy peasy. Recollect that table. Just leave that house there for the moment. Never put on my pants. Oh wait, yes I did. There we go. Gonna head back to the base real quick and see exactly what the requirements for a crafting table, or for the what's it called? Flint axe, that's important. Crude bow requires 8, flint knife 2, I'll do that. I'm going to replace that with a flint axe. And I don't have the trash can quite yet. One thing I am going to do is put some beehives up. Bees are happy, bees are happy. If you have too many beehives in the same location, they start producing at less effectiveness, which is clearly, well, less effective. Let's see, there we go. Just filling out the floor, and it doesn't stick out, which is cool. Drop a couple of these cooking stations here. You can have more than one on a fire, which increases your efficiency. Looks like I'm gonna run out of inventory space fairly soon, so I'm probably gonna make a few chests for different types of items. There is another food source, which is pretty solid. This will be done in a second. Sadly, you cannot dual wield weapons at the moment. There are some dual wield weapons, but they come in a single package, so to speak. So knives are very clearly better than a stone axe. And I've got my flint axe here, which is just so much better at chopping wood, it's ridiculous. Yep, 2 hits as opposed to however many it took the stone axe to do. And need a few more pigs. You can hunt birds in this game, but you can't do it with a knife. Unless you're like an absolute ninja. Got your sneak 100, which I do not have yet, clearly. I don't even know if I have sneak 1. Something that is very important in this early game here is leveling your sneak up to 5, which is how much how much you need to reliably or semi-reliably sneak up on a deer. And one of the best ways to do that is by following around a pig. This is a black forest, I believe. Or at least getting close to one. Maybe not. I know there is one over here somewhere. Black forests are quite dangerous in the early game. You've got gray dwarves of various types. There's a deer. I doubt I'm going to be able to sneak up on him. The wind is with me, so deers do actually have smell, a sense of smell. Wow, I actually did it. That was mostly due to the wind, so if you're going down wind of a deer, or if the deer is upwind of you, I don't even know how those words work exactly, but basically if the wind is such that it doesn't blow your smell into the deer, if the wind is going towards you as opposed to towards the deer, you can sneak up on them. If the wind is blowing towards the deer, they will smell you, and they'll just run away, and you usually can't catch them. Because they're very fast, and they don't have a stamina bar, much unlike you, who definitely does have a stamina bar. Okay, so this is a mountain, and I can't go there right now, because mountains require frost resistance. Otherwise, you'll freeze to death and die stupidly.